There was a press conference that Mitch McConnell was speaking at. This was a quick little conference in front of some reporters, and he froze in the middle of speaking, and he couldn't continue his thought. He had to be walked off, gradually off from the mic. And what this displayed to everyone was not that he forgot what he was going to say, or not even that he was confused from a cognitive point of view, although that is one thing. But it almost seemed like, and of course we're not evaluating this as a medical disclaimer, it looked like he had a stroke or something of the sort, right? It wasn't just like part of Alzheimer's or dementia. It was some immediate medical condition. That's what it looked like, okay? So what does this tell us? Well, I'll say this. We have a lot of politicians. I'm mainly referring to elected politicians, although there are unelected people behind the scenes in the bureaucracy who run our nation as well. But the elected officials in Congress, but also the judicial branch, and of course the executive branch, there are people in these certain positions, and they're much older, which there's nothing wrong necessarily with being older. If you can still do your job, you're still competent, you fit your role, whatever your role is. But if you have an underlying medical condition, if you're not competent because of age, if you have dementia or Alzheimer's, if you've lost cognition and you're not able to perform your duties as well as someone else who could come in and replace your position in terms of them performing for the American public, right? In America, we consider the people who are elected and, as a byproduct, unelected, we consider these people public servants, which means you are serving the public. If you can no longer serve the public in an optimal fashion, you're not effective. So let's say you're operating, I won't even say you're operating at 92% and there's someone out there who can operate at 99%. You won the election or you were appointed, fine. But if you're operating at 64% because there's an underlying issue or you're facing some degenerative issue, and there's someone out there or multiple people out there who are operating at 84%, 92%, 91%, 98%, and they could fill your position. But you, because you've been in that situation for years, maybe decades, and you've secured your position with tenure because you have other people in your network who are looking out for you because their positions are secure, thus your position is secure. If you're occupying that position, you are stealing from the American public. You are stealing from us. You are stealing our ability to defend ourselves as a nation, our ability to have rationale, our ability to have a proper budget, our ability to have life, liberty, and property. I mean, I'm being broad here because there's so many different things that you could be affecting, right? If you work at the DoD, the Department of Defense, and you're not fully competent due to age or an underlying medical condition, and you're putting us at risk in some area, in some niche, that is I'm not going to say treason, but you're completing negligence, right? And if you're knowingly doing it, then it's willful negligence, right? So we need to understand that there are a lot of people. Again, I'm going to refer more so to Congress because we have people like Dianne Feinstein, we have Mitch McConnell. I won't say Lindsey Graham, although of course he's getting up there in age. See, John Kennedy is a good example. Not John F. Kennedy, but John Kennedy. He's a senator. I think he's from Kentucky. He's all there, right? Now, he's not the most eloquent or elegant person, but he's all there. He's fulfilling his role as an elected official. Of course, Joe Biden. If you're not all there, if you're degrading, and it's extremely quick. And even we saw when Ronald Reagan got out of the presidency, he degraded extremely quick, right? If you're heading towards that, and now he had dementia, Alzheimer's, but in some condition, you're heading towards that point. I can understand why people want to hold on to that position. They've been doing this for years, for decades. They have tenure, they have respect, they have status. They're, of course, they have a salary, but they're also benefiting through corrupt means. And there's also non-corrupt means of benefiting as a politician, but they're benefiting financially, they're benefiting ideologically, they're benefiting in almost every regard that you could benefit from in terms of worldly status and worldly material things. And that's why they don't want to let this position go. And I would say, hey, it would be better, not just for other people, for the American public, if you actually care about America, to leave that position, but it would also be better for you, because you're probably suffering at certain points and forcing yourself to do something just to maintain that status. If you took time off, you let go of your position, and you went and you became a private citizen, you served the public. Hopefully you were not corrupt, but even if you were corrupt, you did something with the public. You came out of public office, you went to your private life, and then you established, with so many outlets, so many platforms, you can freely speak your ideas, your concepts, and that's a lot more comfortable for you and a lot better for the American public. But most of these politicians won't do that. Why? because even though there's Instagram and YouTube and Rumble and all these different platforms where they could freely speak and share their ideas, which is essentially what you're doing as a politician, different ways of being diplomatic, but you're sharing ideas and you're determining what should be an idea that is going to be not just cultural but political. They won't do that because they don't have any ideas. A lot of these people are occupying positions because they're not truly competent. They were not truly competent to begin with. And now if they have an underlying disease or underlying illness and they're degrading, they're going to be less than competent. So it's even like a compounding of not being competent, which is just insane, right? I would not expect Mitch McConnell to leave his position, even though he's made all the money in the world. And if you tie back, he may have a lot of corrupt ways that he made the money. We know that he is aligned now with the establishment, which is a shame. And he may have always been like that anyways, which most people are, despite their political affiliation, their party affiliation, whether they're Republican or Democrat. It doesn't really matter. A lot of people tie themselves to the establishment because they want to be in that position. Again, they care about the power of that position. That's everything to them. If they left that position, even if they held all the money in the world, even if they have 10, 20, 30 million plus dollars like Nancy Pelosi, who has, I think she has over $100 billion now, when they go to private life, they still, like, you want to be doing something. I don't want to say you retire, but you're transitioning to less of a workload. You generally don't want to retire. People like to focus on the idea of retirement, and that's kind of what the American dream sold people, but it's really a lie. You should be working until the day you die. A lot of people actually perish right after they retire because they have nothing to do. They have no meaning in their life. They have no purpose, which means they have no will to live on. So you do want to have some kind of meaning, some will to live on in the future. In this case, let's say Mitch McConnell retired, or semi-retired, and then he went out and he started writing or he started speaking. Right? And you don't necessarily have to get hired for this. You can do it on your own. You have the internet, and you don't have to be that tech savvy to figure it out. And maybe he has friends or relatives, people who are younger, who could help him out with this kind of stuff. He still would not have any ideas to share. And he knows that. He knows that he's not, and I'm not just picking on Mitch McConnell, he's just the subject of this news topic. I'm picking on a lot of people, the majority of the politicians. They know that they would not be able to sit there and write or sit there and speak coherently into a camera or write on a blog or newsletter or email or whatever, because most people would look at this and say, look, these ideas are terrible. There's no merit in these ideas. Even if you're the average person consuming this content, these ideas suck. And so they know that they don't have any skill there. They don't have any competency there. They're not they're not a statesman or a true politician. They're just someone who found an opportunity and took advantage of that opportunity and secured their position. And they towed the line with the establishment because now the establishment protects them. The establishment just wants people to be pawns, to fit their ideological and financial interests. And the establishment is not like some nameless entity. There are people who are involved, but it's still made out of people, right? So if you just align yourselves with the establishment and you're subpar, well, they'll protect you. They'll ensure that you have some benefit because you're benefiting them, right? It's like a quid pro quo in a sense. And it's in that type of way when you're doing it in politics, it's corruption because you're no longer putting America first. You're putting a bureaucracy first. And the bureaucracy, 9 times out of 10, hurts the American public than it helps. So there are plenty of Mitch McConnells out there who know that they wouldn't be able to go and transition into something else, even if they made all the money in the world and they don't want to retire, they want to have some meaning in their life, they still want to focus on something else. They would not be able to do that in a competent manner. A lot of these politicians have been career politicians, meaning since they were like 30 years old, 35 years old, they got into politics from an official point of view, and they've been there for decades, and they would not be able to get a job anywhere else. I mean, they would have to get like a low-paying job. I don't know if they could even work at McDonald's because they would probably flip your burger wrong and mess up the order. But a lot of these people can't work regular jobs. All they know how to do is find opportunity and take advantage of that. So it's really sad when we have older geriatric people, which again, that's not necessarily bad on its own, but when you compound all the variables, you have an underlying illness, an underlying disease, you're less competent, you're degrading. I mean, there's so many different ways. And you can still, like I said, you can do something out of that situation where you still have some kind of status and wealth. But these people know that they're not competent enough to do that. That itself is a red flag. That should wake people up to showcase that these people truly don't have what's in them to be a politician. They should not even be in that position in the first place. I haven't even gotten into the unelected officials, the unelected bureaucracy, the administrative state, where these people are not elected. They're either indirectly elected because we elect the politicians, well, some politicians, or like the president, which, again, that's a whole situation. And then these elected officials appoint or hire the unelected officials. And there's a whole bureaucracy, and it builds and it builds, and it's extremely bloated. And these people also stay in that position, and they're not competent, and they know they couldn't go out and do anything else. Even if they made all the money in the world, they know, like, there are basic ways where you could still create revenue. I mean, like, if you already have a principal amount of a net worth, let's say you have $1 million, $2 million, all you have to do is some reading and some critical thinking. But you could take that $1 million, $2 million, that would be the principal amount, and you can make money from that and then have like a good lifestyle. Like, it's not that complex. But these people, they can't even do that. They don't even understand how to do that. All they understand how to do is steal from the taxpayer and then enrich themselves. So it's like a continuous Ponzi scheme that they're doing, because that's the only way they can make money. They can't make money any way else. But again, even if they had all the money, even if they are competent, they don't have any underlying medical conditions or any kind of degeneration, neurodegeneration, whatever it is. They know they're not competent enough to go in as a private citizen and speak on camera or write or do anything. I mean, some of them do write books, but they get ghostwriters, or writing is a little bit easier because you can sit there and you can erase your words and do all that. But even then, when you read some of their books, I mean, it's garbage. And you had all the time in the world to write the book. You can go back and write stuff. You can look at other people's work, not to plagiarize, but to inspire you. And they still write crappy books. So yeah, some of them do come out of politics and do write books. But again, it's terrible. Like, these people are not competent. And then you go a step beyond that, and it's not just that they're not competent, but they're suffering. And because they're suffering, they can't even do their job properly, and they're hurting the American public. So this is more like a wake-up call. It's a PSA to people to, look, I know there's a lot of good people out there. If you have good ideas, not just good intentions, but you have good ideas. And how do you know that you have a good idea? Well, it helps most of the population. And you can't be ideological about it. You have to really see, you have to be very objective. Like, capitalism objectively works better than socialism. Why? Because in a sense, there are losers in the game. There's more losers in socialism, because everyone's a loser in socialism except for the ruling party. In capitalism, there are losers, but it's a minority at the bottom. And even now, the government is helping them out, so they're dependent on government, so they're still there. But it allows for those who are the most meritocratic, those who are the most competent, they go up and down the hierarchy. You ideally want to go up, but they have an opportunity, they have a chance to go up and succeed. Basic ideas, PSA. If you have these ideas, go into public service. Obviously, go in and achieve something first. Build a business, build multiple businesses, fail, make money, lose money, do whatever you need to do, and then go into public service, public life. But maybe you can jump into it immediately. And if you have good ideas, you should pursue it. And if you're competent and you're young and you're fresh, that's even more of a reason to pursue it. A lot of our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson was like in his early 20s when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. There was only a few of them who are truly, really much older, like Benjamin Franklin. A lot of them were in their 20s and 30s. Some in their 40s, and then not many in their 50s and 60s. So we have to understand, it's not about age. It's really about who's competent, and then also, are you suffering something underlying that is affecting your duties? Because there are good people out there who don't want to pursue politics because it's messy, it's chaotic, it's dirty, and I get it 100%. But there are people who are going into this game, and they're just using and abusing the country, because good people don't want to take on the responsibility of doing what needs to be done. I'm introducing Constitutes Plus. This is a place where you can access exclusive content. The links are going to be in the description. This is going to be me, of course, investigative journalism, hard-hitting stories, even stories that we can't talk about anywhere else. It's at an affordable price. If you cannot afford the price, don't even worry about it. I'm going to post free content all the time. But this is a place where if you want to support, or if you want to grow and expand our platform, what we're doing here, you're going to get new topics, new videos every single week. And the goal is to, with enough audience and capital, expand what we're doing with other creators, where they can also come on and share their truth, their content. And of course, this is all based on the reality of the world, not some delusional reality that we now live in.